Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net, where we invite you to join us for the Prosperity Game. You can win prizes. You can also discover the easy, quick, surefire ways to allow prosperity into your life experience. The Prosperity Games are ongoing on the Awakened Radio Network. Check out our front page, awakenedradio.net, for details on the Prosperity Game. You can win prizes by calling in, by being in our chat room. You can even win by leaving comments in our forum. We've got all manner of ways for you to join us to play the Prosperity Game, where we all win and live beautiful, wonderful, on-purpose lives. Join us for the Prosperity Games at awakenedradio.net.
Welcome. You are now tuned in to Your Unfolding Senses on Awakened Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ragazine. This show is all about opening to and listening to your full intuitive capabilities. I offer tips and techniques such as meditation, dream work, and more for relaxing and connecting to your intuition. I'm on the air Thursday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. This show is brought to you by intuitionbyrob.net, helping you to connect to your own inner wisdom. Please enjoy the show and invite your friends. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's 10 p.m. August 29th, 2013. Welcome to your Unfolding Senses. I'm Rob Ragazine, your host, author, and explorer. Tonight, we'll be talking about habits and the patterns and restrictions that we seem to be caught up in. In general, your Unfolding Senses was about opening to your own inner wisdom. We're all intuitive, and on this show, we talk about the tools and techniques for centering, connecting inward, and learning to truly listen, with, of course, a focus on helping you to find the methods and techniques that help you to be the best you that you can be. Feel free to call in and make comments or ask questions on the tools and techniques that work for you. You might ask about tarot, numerology, dreams. Our topic last week was self-acceptance. So if you've learned anything about yourself in the week since, let me know. And tonight we'll be continuing that discussion in a little bit with a sort of U-turn towards habits and looking at how that limits our self-belief, our self-acceptance of ourselves. Now, since you're listening tonight, I want to thank you for tuning in, but you can use this time as an opportunity to let go of any doubt or disbelief and simply connect inward and allow time and space to truly listen to yourself and listen to your heart, at least for the next hour. And perhaps you can spread this space out into your outer life as well. And with that in mind, I invite you to take part in a short meditation. And you might have a question in mind that you wish to bring to the meditation, and that would be great if you do. You might ask, how can I move past my habits? How can I change a habit to be more healthy for myself? How can I allow myself to step past what I perceive as limiting? And then simply allow for a sound or a phrase or a word or a symbol to come to you during the meditation, and that can be your answer. So finding a quiet corner and becoming comfortable, either sitting down or lying down, and beginning to breathe slowly and gently, releasing any stress from the day and breathing gently and deeply into yourself, into your heart. Letting go of any doubts or worries, continuing your breath, letting your mind quiet and your body rest. Feel yourself filling with peace and tranquility. Bring your focus to your heart. What has it been asking for? Allow your awareness of your heart to deepen as you breathe, settling in to the stillness. Feel all of your senses open, grow, and deepen. Know that this is a special place where you can clearly hear your own inner voice, however it speaks to you. Be mindful of how this space feels. You might ask your question now, or notice any answers or messages available to you within this space. Your inner ears might hear a word or phrase. Your inner eyes might see a color, shape, or picture. Your other senses might pick up a fragrance or a long-forgotten taste. You might notice other sensations as well. Simply pay attention to these. If you don't understand what they mean for you, ask for deeper clarity and allow whatever comes to come. If nothing does, that's okay. Don't force anything to happen. Simply rest in the stillness and inner peace. This could be the very thing your heart has been yearning for. Notice how your body feels in this time of stillness. Breathe into the parts of your body that feel tight or stressed. Allow yourself to feel the comfort of this space. Know that you can come here anytime. And as we prepare to leave, have and feel gratitude for this connection and any messages you received. Slowly bring your focus back to the room, gently stretching, opening your eyes, and coming back to your body. Did you get a message tonight? If not, that's okay. We'll work briefly with an intuitive challenge next to help you better connect with your intuition. And normally I have something to intuit what's in the box, but we're doing something simpler tonight than trying to determine the secret object that might be in the box. Tonight we're going to work with a color so that we all work with the same color. I'm picking yellow tonight. And the question to ask yourself and to try to determine to better connect with your intuition is simply, how does yellow make you feel? When you see it, when you wear it, are you comfortable with it? Are you uncomfortable? Does it make you feel at ease? And in the chat room, Donna mentions that yellow is good. She likes yellow, I guess. She says, fresh, spring, bright. What are your perceptions of yellow? You might simply sit and take a few moments to tune into the color. So be comfortable. You don't have to do it now, but being comfortable, and ask, how do I feel about yellow? And notice the feelings that come up. Notice the memories that come up. Maybe you remember waking up one morning and someone brought you a yellow book, or your room was painted yellow when you were a child. Whatever. Just notice the memories that come up, and notice the feelings, the sensations, especially in your body. Does your body feel like it's energized, full of happiness and joy, or does it feel tense? So notice the shapes, the colors, the memories, whatever's connected to the color yellow, and notice it as you move through your day. And just pay attention. You might walk through your day with a journal and record your thoughts on that color. Maybe you watch a movie sometime during your day and they use yellow in a particular way. Just notice that. Now, last week we talked about self-acceptance, and this week that's what we're talking about again, but from the focus point, really, of habits and routines, bringing our mindfulness to look at why we have a particular habit and how might we step past it. So noticing, most importantly, how we treat ourselves, how we react to the world, how we are in the world, and most importantly, what we perceive as limiting and restricting as we are interacting with the world around us, and what prevents us from being fully present in our lives. And becoming curious about our behaviors and habits, and maybe looking at being willing at least to look at how we can begin to change them if we're not happy or satisfied with them. So first of all, you want to begin noticing how you're spending your time. And as we're self-accepting of ourselves and trying to develop a greater connection with ourselves, we don't want to be selfish and not do for others, but we want to notice how often we're doing things for others, and wondering, are we taking time to replenish ourselves and do whatever is enjoyment for us, taking time out for ourselves. We can surround ourselves with people who take, sort of energy vampires, and not give back to us, rather than spending time with people who know how to give, who know how to care, who are reciprocal. So noticing your energy, noticing your particular patterns. And we're not trying to label, we're not trying to make ourselves bad or wrong. There's always events where we might be off and we're not necessarily fully giving and receiving in the relationship. We might be caught up in a moment and worrying about something and begging someone for help or something. But just to notice your pattern and coming back to yourself and being aware of what the pattern typically is on a typical day. Ideally, we want to be a witness, so stepping back and witnessing yourself. Ideally, it's not going to happen every day, but with awareness and mindfulness, you can step back and notice how you move through your day. So when we look at it, we're not favoring avoidance or defensiveness. We're self-aware. We're self-encouraging ourselves, so that we notice when we're trusting our abilities and when we're not. And I've been reading a lot about habits this week, and Charles Duhigg, who wrote The Power of Habit, says this about it. He says, I think the thing that most surprised me was just how malleable habits are. That what we've learned in the last 15 years from neuroscience and psychology is that at nearly any point, someone's habits can change. There used to be a sense that habits were locked in at around 25. We now know that's not true. If you take this approach, you can change any behavior. It's true that people become more comfortable in their behavior as they get older. They may have less desire to change, but it's a matter of taking apart the behavior and understanding the habit loop, and then anything can change. So being willing to look at yourself and let go of the beliefs and the patterns, and not being attached to any particular behavior or pattern. And we'll talk about that. So going back to being self-accepting, so ideally when you're self-accepting yourself, you're then better able at least, to look at everything about yourself, including the positive and the not so positive. That's where the shadow comes in. That's where we stop judging ourselves and we're able to forgive ourselves, let go of guilt. And again, we're not trying to necessarily fix anything or label ourselves. We're simply trying to be ourselves, be in the moment, be present within our lives, live non-judgmentally, and live in the present. That's it. So when we begin to notice how we live, we can notice whether or not stress is a big part of our day. And that's really where our walls come from, our masks. We just have to detach from our lives because we're so stressed out, we don't know what to do with all that energy, with all that dynamic. But how often do we contribute to this stress simply by falling back on a habit like smoking, overeating, drinking, is just to look at that, something that's not supportive ultimately. So, as I was talking about last week, accepting your shadow really means you're willing to work with your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities, rather than retreating or numbing out or running away. So our habits are often about numbing out. We try to block out what's bothering us, but it only comes back once the drugs or the alcohol or the food or whatever it is we use to numb out fades away. Your fears initially may have protected you from further damage and hurt, but most of us get stuck in the fear, and then we build up habits to defend ourselves from the fear. We don't stand out, and it may have helped us to avoid shame or ridicule, but now, over time, it's grown into a pattern or a habit, and we believe that there's something unwanted or wrong or unacceptable about ourselves. But there's nothing wrong. We have to accept ourselves, and that's what we're talking about. Accepting ourselves, accepting that we've developed these habits really as defense mechanisms. And as I was talking about last week, you can reframe what you think about yourself. So instead of saying, oh, I tend to be fearful, you can say, this is how I was until this moment. So you don't say, I'm afraid, I was afraid until this moment, but now I'm kind of curious. But now I'm open to experiencing what's beyond the fear. And as Glory and Donna were talking about in the show previous to mine, you might explore this through your artwork, through a willingness to be creative. But going back to the habit, you might want to think about one that's prominent, that leads often to self-criticism, and you still think it's really a part of who you are, such as being lazy or inefficient or whatever it is, and start to look at it. How often do these habits or traits or personality aspects show up? And then on the flip side of that, who are you when that's not happening? Obviously, you're not lazy 24/7. Sooner or later, you have to get up to eat, unless someone brings you your food on a silver tray. So the question is, are you still you? Now, what do you really want to support within yourself as you think about this trait. Maybe initially this trait was helpful in that you felt overwhelmed and in high demand, and it allowed you to say, enough, I'm stepping out of all this craziness. But maybe there's a positive way how you can begin to change that. So again, we go back to, this is how I was until now. Now I'm looking for a way to be something, to open to something new. Perhaps something needs to be forgiven, so you can ask, what do I need to forgive? And that might help you to begin to release something for your own growth. And just notice, as we're thinking about this, which circumstances bring out this habit. So maybe when certain people show up, or a certain time of day, or when you're feeling really stressed, then you restrict yourself, pull in, and you conserve energy because you're not sure what to do. So on the outside it looks like laziness, but on the inside it's uncertainty. So this is how I was until this moment, and I'm now committed to becoming certain about myself. I'm now committed to taking steps to learn why I'm uncertain when I'm stressed. I'm now committed to actively partaking in my life so that I'm following a path that I want to be certain about. And just notice which habits might show up when you're saying that. And if they're supportive, that's fine. And just to notice what memories show up, maybe childhood experiences help to create this situation, maybe not. Maybe it's just the way you've been living, and maybe it's time to start truly living your life. And just notice the choices that you've made to get here. And again, you can reframe or change your self-description. So instead of saying, I'm lazy, you can begin to word it how I was wording it before. So you might say, I'm trying to conserve my energy, but I feel that I'm taking steps to recharge and renew. And then truly begin to do that. And I always remember Richard Simmons' quote, and he said, if all you can do is move your arms, move your arms. So if you want to not feel lazy, start moving your arms, stand up, get off the couch, and go take a walk. And do that the first day, do that the second day, build a new habit. So instead of saying, I'm an angry person or I'm a lazy person, you might say, sometimes in certain circumstances, I do tend to get angry or I do tend to be lazy, but I'm working on a new way. And this is where a tool like the throw can come in and also be very, very helpful. So I pulled one for the show, and it's the devil card. And I always say, dismiss what you see in the movies. It doesn't matter what colors are on the card. There is a lot of black, but there's also a lot of brightness. And I think the card really reflects an opportunity for looking at our habits and what we feel that we're chained to. But also, when you begin to truly learn about this card, you can see that the chains are loose and that you can easily release them yourself. So looking at our habits, we can begin to look at what we're in control of, what we can reframe, and what we can begin to let go of ourselves. Yes, you might need to find outer life support, friends, therapy, and support networks, but you can do it. And there's all kinds of research about the number of days that it takes to change a habit. And really, it's all part of the reframing and not worrying necessarily whether it takes 13 days or 13 weeks or 21 days or 3 months. It's simply, can you make the space and live in a way that fosters the new habit in your life? And are you willing to? Are you willing to look within? And that's why I mentioned the tarot card, because now you can begin to work by yourself with a habit, pull a card that represents your habit, and perhaps if you did pull the devil card, you might begin to notice how you're self-limiting yourself by saying, for instance, as we're talking about being lazy, well, maybe that's not necessarily true. You can tell yourself by looking at the card, I have help. A particular someone shows up and I fall into this habit, and maybe I need to ask that person for support. Maybe I need to spend less time with that person. All of these things are possible, and the way you read the card might depend on your situation and really tapping into your energy and the energy and dynamics of the situation. And really, that's what you're trying to do as we begin to reframe this habit and pay more attention to how you value yourself and how you really want to live your life. Now we have about 3 minutes until break, so if you have a question about one of your own habits, or you have a dream perhaps that's talking about a habit of yours, you can feel free to call in after the break when we get back at 334-649-7204 or at Awaken Radio to Skype and call us. Or, of course, you can connect with us via chat by coming to awakenradio.net and clicking on the live chat tab and typing into the chat room. And I welcome any questions you might have tonight about your own personal habits, and maybe you can even offer guidance on how you broke some of yours. And I'll also talk about some of the possible solutions for looking more deeply at how you can begin to step away from your own personal habits and situations that aren't supporting you when we do get back from the break.
You are listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website where you can chat with our host at awakenedradio.net. If you'd like to listen to us on the go, visit tunein.com. Download their free app and then look for Awakened Radio. You can take us everywhere. Tell all your friends how to listen to the Awakened Radio Network. Awakened Radio is a people-powered radio station. We are occupying the airwaves with the message of personal empowerment, encouraging our listeners to create consciously, to be aware, to be honest, and to heal those areas of our lives that are really starting to bug us. Join our host at awakenedradio.net, where you will find discussions on energy work, meditation, politics, UFOs, aliens, and everything in between. awakenedradio.net, the people-powered information radio station. Did you know that you could host your own broadcast with the Awakened Radio Network? Join us at awakenradio.net. Look up at the top where it says services. Click on Be a Host. Check there for information on how to share your message with our global listening audience. You can also add Awaken Radio to Skype and contact our station manager, or email the station at awakenedradio@gmail.com. Find out how easy, fun, and awesome it is to be part of the Awakened Radio Network family.
Welcome. You are now tuned in to Your Unfolding Senses on Awakened Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ragazine. This show is all about opening to and listening to your full intuitive capabilities. I offer tips and techniques such as meditation, dream work, and more for relaxing and connecting to your intuition. I'm on the air Thursday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. This show is brought to you by intuitionbyrob.net, helping you to connect to your own inner wisdom. Please enjoy the show and invite your friends. Welcome back. And again, if you'd like to call in and ask about a dream or numerology or tarot or talk about habits tonight, call in at 334-649-7204 or add Awaken Radio to Skype. And we're talking about habits and the shadow. And the shadow usually refers to those parts of your personality that you're unaware of, see only in others, try to forget about, or just plain ignore. And especially as children, we might be told things like, be a man, or good girls don't do that, or man up, or crying is for babies. I always remember make do, and I always thought that I had enough, but I never liked the phrase. It felt like kind of giving in to me. So, to me, it felt like I had to accept the limitation when I didn't necessarily have one. So, just to notice whatever those phrases stirred within you might help you to recognize a habit or pattern now that's in your life, and to see, as we were talking about being lazy, how that might be related to that. And for me, that might relate to being more self-reliant and less reliant on other people instead of asking for help. So to begin to be curious and to at least ask for help from other people. And it might be different for you depending on the phrase. Now I really want to look at how we become disconnected, desensitized from our emotions, mainly because of our habits. We feel a strong emotion and we try to block it, and it becomes a regular pattern. Media shows us images as if they're normal and asks us to cope with that, but they're not normal. My favorite lately is this Pillsbury Doughboy commercial. I think it's an insurance commercial, and he's being poked and prodded at the airport, and it's supposed to be cute, I guess. It's not really cute to me. So just to notice what that stirs in me, whatever images stir within yourself, and just to notice the statistics, like, how many marriages are ending in divorce because people aren't willing to work with their emotions. They've stepped away from them. How much Prozac is being subscribed, or other similar drugs. And as of a few years ago, it was double-digit millions of people were on Prozac. I'm not sure of the numbers right now, I wasn't really that curious, but it's a high prescription rate. So just to notice when you tend to want to step away from the feelings. And I'm not saying that you have to be connected 24/7, feeling everything, but it is important not to be totally desensitized from it all. And you don't have to be in serenity all the time either. And that's not even possible, no matter how much meditation you have, because there'll always be something that's bigger than you. But it's about handling it, about developing enough calm and enough ways to let go of stress and to heal and to help others heal, that you can be in the moment rather than trying to escape it. And to look at, well, what habits do I have that I try to avoid the emotions? It might be through humor, it might be through exercise, it might be through countless ways. So we're talking about achieving some sort of emotional freedom, but it doesn't mean becoming desensitized or numb or bland, or being the person that spews out everything in the middle of the street. So being that person that's over emoting at every single party every time you see them. So we're really talking about developing courage for yourself, to maintaining enough awareness to be mindful and not be blaming, not labeling or limiting yourself, not falling into a habit trap, to recognize your habits and tendencies. And as we talked about earlier, to begin to reframe them. So saying, okay, I sense this habit in me, but this is how I was until now. Now, I'd like to step forward in a new way. I was lazy, or I've called myself lazy until this moment. So ask why this habit is here. What does it support? What does it serve? And be curious, be open to the answer. Admit your struggles and your strengths. And that's where some of the real healing comes from, when you're willing to admit that, okay, this habit is a problem for me, but I still wanted to step past it. So perhaps you're not dedicating time to follow your heart, to follow your passion, and that feels difficult or scary, so you can admit that. You can say, now I have no time with children or obligations. That's what it is. But then find a way to do it regardless of the problem, and repeat in a way that makes sense to you. So perhaps asking for help. So you can say, I was overwhelmed until today, but I've begun asking for help. I've begun to spend 5 minutes writing. I've begun to sleep less, or whatever it is. And not necessarily be ashamed of being afraid or angry or lost or not good enough, because ultimately, when we're ashamed, we just stuff those feelings inside and create a bigger shadow. So we can go back to the devil card and see that whatever we're not looking at just becomes bigger. And the devil card, the devil is a huge, dominating figure, and there's 2 tiny humans. So not playing, as Donna mentions, the blame-shame game, not getting caught in that trap, and just to notice that some of it is illusionary. Maybe most of it's illusionary. We don't know until we try to begin stepping past it and stop medicating ourselves, stop drinking, stop overeating, whatever it is, whatever habit we have developed to avoid the feeling. we're only really contributing more to that feeling, first of all, because now we're angry that we drank so much or ate so much or whatever the habit is, we're angry that we did it, instead of reframing it and looking at a positive way to reconstruct our lives. To be able to move through your emotions, which can help, and it doesn't have to be limiting, it doesn't have to be all painful, it can be courageous to do so. And once you begin to do that, that's where the growth, that's where the expansion comes. This creates hope and helps you to let go of the cynicism and helps you to work with and release negative emotions rather than feeling trapped by them. So what's been obviously up for most people this week is Syria, and it doesn't necessarily help to just put your head in the sand and say, no, that's not happening. But it can help to begin to look at where we can all begin to have calm in our hearts. And I'm not saying that it's not for looking at it from a Pollyanna attitude or just a pure feel-good attitude, because it's not about limiting yourself. It's about feeling the feeling and then moving on to what you feel inspired to do or act in some way. And the food protests are really great for this example, because rather than staying and grumbling at their positions today, these thousands of food workers went out on strike, which is really incredible. You probably wouldn't have seen that a few years ago, but they were willing at least to take a step to say, no, this isn't right, and embrace some of their own inner calm, because there probably wouldn't be any way for them to do that unless in a nervous and agitated state. There would be fights, it would just be chaos. So from what I can gather, it seemed very calm, very reasonable. So don't get stuck in the quicksand of the negative emotions and feeling sucked down into them, and which can destroy relationships, and or get stuck in wanting to stick our fingers in our ears like those monkeys, can't see, can't talk, can't do whatever. It's about not blocking anything out necessarily, being in the moment and being able to be expressive, being able to connect to your heart and follow its guidance, and recognize with all emotions trigger biological markers and reactions. So emotional stress, for instance, depletes us. What happens in the brain, we have the amygdala, which is really where the fight or flight response is based, which it sets off the adrenals, which produce cortisol and adrenaline, that sets off the kidneys, and then all kinds of crazy down the line bodily reactions happen. And that's 24/7 for a lot of people, because they're constantly going, constantly feeling the need to move, constantly feeling that if they don't do something, that'll be the end of them. So to realize that you're depleting yourself physically simply by being in this emotional stress place within their lives. Whereas if you're calm, this allows you to revive yourself, and it's expansive. It restores your energy. It helps you to build back up your reserves. In most cases, your amygdala is being fired off, but it's not about physical survival anymore. It's simply about living day to day. And that really perpetuates the cycle. And we stay in the same state over and over, only it's not really the same state. You see these people who say they live on stress, but they're the way they hold their bodies, the way they move, you can see that they're burned out and they need help. So the real question is, what can we do differently? And back to looking to your habits for one, and looking to your emotions for guidance, and not feeling like you have to force your way through what they call, I guess, white knuckling it today. And again, perhaps going back to the tarot and drawing a card for each day and really seeing what guidance you might need for that day. So if you drew the devil, you might look to where your habits are holding you back. So perhaps if you're feeling lazy, you can talk to yourself and say, until this moment I was feeling lazy, but now I'm feeling like there's something I'd like to do, and I can ask for help and perhaps get the ball rolling, and then I won't feel so overwhelmed later on if I have help in this project, for instance. So it's really a reframing and a looking beyond your own self-limitations. So it's questioning, where do I perceive my limits, where do I perceive my world, and how do I limit it internally, externally, on all levels. It's possible that people are more than willing to help you, and you're simply dismissing them out of hand. So to look, the tarot can definitely be helpful there, and it might help you to come to that awareness. We're not talking about being self-indulgent when we're looking at our emotions or acting like, for instance, you're in a Woody Allen movie. It's to be more real, to be more caring, to be more involved with your life, to be more committed. And we're not trying to sweep things under the rug, but simply appreciating now. And there was an American Indian story that I ran into this week, and it's a real short one. It's a chief is talking to his tribe about two dogs inside his mind. One is a white dog that is good and courageous, and the other a black dog that is vengeful and angry. Both dogs are fighting to the death. A young brave, unable to wait for the end of the story, asks, which one will win? The chief responds, the one I feed. So noticing which emotions you feed, which habits you feed, and being willing to always look deeper at yourself internally and to begin to pay attention not only to your emotions but to your body in general. So to notice how you hold yourself, how you move about your day, and really to begin to notice it on an energetic level. You might first just begin to notice how you're breathing. Are you breathing in shallow, quick breaths? Or are you breathing in nice, long, and comfortable breaths? And then just to notice whether you want to move. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm too lethargic to move, to begin to question, why is that? So that's where mindfulness can really come into play. So notice, for instance, if you were going to take a shower, that could be a really great opportunity to connect with your energy, your body's energy, and to really enjoy the moment. So what's happening in the present moment, you can notice the warmth or the cold of the water, the contact with your skin, the sounds, the soap, the moment in time where nothing else is happening, simply to be in that moment, to feel how good it feels to scrub your skin clean, just to spend perhaps a few extra minutes and just to be in that moment rather than I have to get this done so that I can get to work, and to really pay attention to that. And that can help you to be more mindful, at least in that moment. So then the next question that might come up is how can I pay better attention to all the suffering that's happening with, and then, well, you can do that without traumatizing yourself. And really, this, as I was talking about 5 seconds ago, it's about staying present in the moment with the issue, really, rather than repressing it or denying it. So don't let or push away the pain, the suffering that you portray as the suffering. Stay with it. And this builds the confidence for the next time so that you can stay with it. You don't need to fall back on the habit of the food or the drugs or the alcohol or the relationships. Of course, it helps to be grounded and centered, so having a regular meditation practice can help with this, as does being willing to ask for help. So, I need help with fill in the blank. Of course, one day there might not be anyone around immediately to ask, so baby steps. Take one step at a time and be willing to recognize that there might not always be someone that can help you immediately, but generally there's someone that can help you eventually. So being grounded, being centered can help you develop the patience to wait for help to arrive, whether it's you yourself helping yourself as you develop more skill and more ability to deal with the pain, and develop a willingness to be honest with yourself. And really, that's all that we all can do, and anyone can ask, is to be willing to be truthful to ourselves and to not push away the pain, to stay with it, to build confidence for the next time, and really be willing to work with it for yourself. So you might begin to help facilitate this by keeping a journal. And this might include really how other people are treating you or helping you. And it might be a way for you to reflect on your life and to look at your habits and to see really what the underlying energy of your life is, what's motivating you. So not only keep a journal during the day, but have perhaps regular practice where you write for 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes even or longer about what brings you inspiration, what brings you motivation in your life, and what are you really connected to, what are you attached to, what do you believe that you have to do, and what are the important relationships in your life. Journal all of this and then look at the connections, see what the connections are nurturing in your life, see what they're supporting, see what habits are in your life, see what you're craving, see what you really want to happen, something that you'll begin to see something in your life that you really wish was in a different way. So begin to notice all these patterns and to notice, well, what can I change with myself? How can I ask for help? How can I begin to work with my own intuition to connect in and begin to make maybe small shifts at first, but ultimately big healing changes? And then how can I allow other people in to begin to help making the same changes? And then you don't have to really include necessarily your work in the journaling, but that can come after you begin to notice all of these things, what you're craving, what you want to happen, what you've been asking for, but you've been either denying yourself or blocking yourself from receiving. So just begin to notice and begin to look for ways to receive help. This is obviously a very deep topic, and I guess we'll continue to talk about it in the future. But thank you for listening this week. We have 5 minutes left of the show, so if you do have any questions, feel free to contact me at intuitionbyrob.net, and from there you can click on the media button, and that will take you to my page about this show, so you can get to my forum page where you can connect with me and ask questions. You can also win prizes, I guess, if you interact there. I'm not sure where they are this week. My show page here, the Awakened Radio store, where you can get stones and crystals, and my Facebook and Twitter accounts. And as always, if you're so inclined and you've enjoyed our shows tonight, donations are greatly appreciated. We're here at no cost to you. So if you can find it in your heart to click the donate button at the top of all the screens on Weekend Radio, that'd be appreciated by us. That'd be great. You can also be a sponsor of this show. You provide us with a 30-second audio, and that's played at the start of the show, in the middle of the show, and at the show end. And after the show is archived, the sponsor ad stays with the show, so it'll be played forever, as long as people are downloading it from iTunes. If you're a good match for us, that'd be another great way for you to support Awakened Radio and Your Unfolding Senses. And you can also support the Awakened Radio community and become a deeper part of it by contributing to Thrive magazine. The new issue just came out, and it's available on awakenedradio.net. Just click on the Thrive magazine tab, and you can read community member-supported articles, art, and poetry, and you can contribute your own for next month. So that'd be, if you have any of that, we'd welcome it, if it's of a spiritual, creative nature. Now, next week we'll continue our discussion on habits, but as I said, if you have any questions from tonight's show, feel free to connect me on Twitter, which is Intuition by Rob, or on Facebook, which is Your Unfolding Senses, and ask for help or support, and I'll do the best that I can. And perhaps you've had a dream or other related happening within your life that relates to one of your habits, and we can talk about that. And again, I want to thank everyone for listening, and stay tuned next week to habits, personal beliefs, and patterns. And if you have any suggestions for that show, please feel free to contact me, and I'll try to incorporate the questions into the show. I really do enjoy being able to help people with their questions. So what makes you come alive? What stirs your heart? The journey really is to allow that message that's in your heart to come out into your life, and sometimes the habits or our patterns can block us from doing that. So remember how we talked about the reframing tonight. This is how I was until this moment, and now you have a chance to be a new person from this new, or at least choose a new way of living from this point on. Thanks for joining us. Come back next week for another.
Cause we're awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through the fight and life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened, come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be a leader filled with might. Cause we're awakened.